Well, hey there everybody. Today I am going to teach you how to make these adorable gift box decorations for your home at Christmas time. These are something that are really fun to make. I use canvas glitter for this, or glitter canvas, excuse me, to cover these with. You could also use faux leather or a variety of other things. You could maybe even use paper if you wanted to. These are really fun to set around your home, put them on your mantle. You can even stick them into your Christmas tree. And I'm going to walk you through how I do this, and I'm also going to teach you a bow at the end. So let's go over the supplies you need for this project. For this project, I'm using a foam block. You can find these online as well as your craft stores in the floral section. If you don't have a craft store near you or you want to get it online, I have resources linked below in the video description. And you'll also need a cutting safe surface, so like a self-healing mat or something similar. You'll need a rotary blade or an X-Acto knife. You'll need, of course, your glitter canvas, so I'm using a pretty red here and a complementary green, going very Christmassy. You'll need a pencil in order to trace your block onto your canvas so that you can cut it out the appropriate size of your particular block. And then you may need a pair of scissors on hand and a straight edge to be able to get that rotary blade to stay exactly where you want when you're cutting out your glitter canvas. So I have resources for all of this below. If you're not sure where to get your glitter canvas at or your faux leather, I have resources for that in the blog post that goes with this video tutorial. This is a very easy craft to do. It's very fun, something you could do with the family. You don't need a fancy cutting machine for this. You could use it if you wanted to, but I recommend just doing this by hand because you want to be able to get the exact measurements of your block correct so that you can get everything looking as seamless as possible on your design. So let's go ahead and get started with this craft. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to roll out your canvas here, and you're going to want to roll it out so that it's glitter side down. So I'm going to roll mine to there, and I'm going to take my block and I'm going to place my block. I'm placing it right up to the edge on this side of my material. And then I'm going to take my pencil, and if you want to use maybe like a pen or something darker, you can do that as well. And you're just going to run it along all of the sides. So that you can see where you need to cut. It's probably pretty hard for you to see on camera because I'm using a pencil here. You might want to use like a fabric pen or something like that. But you won't be able to see anything on this side anyway, so it's not a big deal if you mark it up. All right, there we go. So you're gonna set that aside, and then you're gonna use your straight edge and a rotary blade to cut this out. So I am going to unlock my rotary blade, and you wanna put good pressure down on your straight edge so it doesn't move around on you, and then you'll need to apply some decent pressure to cut through that canvas glitter. And just like that. And you're just going to repeat this process for all 6 sides of your square piece of square foam that we have here that we're covering. So one note I want to give you when you're cutting this out, it might be a little hard for you to see my pencil line here, but make sure when you're placing your straight edge that you're putting it slightly outside of the line and not right on top of it or inside of it, because then you won't have enough to cover your box and you'll probably end up with really noticeable seams. So we don't want that to happen. So make sure you cut slightly outside of the line. It's better to have too much and to have to trim down than to not have enough. And mine did not cut all the way through there. If that happens to you, you can just pull apart like that. Okay, so we have one square done, and we're gonna repeat that process for each of the sides, and then we're gonna start attaching it. And I'll show you a way to clean up your edges. So I'm gonna speed this up, and we're just going to get a bunch of these cut out. Okay, so now I have all 6 squares cut out, one for each side of my block, and it's time to start placing them on. Now you'll notice the reason why I said earlier to make sure you cut slightly over the line and not too close in is because if we place this on and I line it up right to the edge, you'll probably notice that there is going to be a little overhang on some of the sides, and that is a good thing because we can take our scissors and we can trim it to where it is perfectly in line with the edge. So that's why I don't want you to cut too close to your line when you're cutting out these squares, because if you do, you may not have enough to make everything look as seamless as possible. I made that mistake on one of my earlier ones here, and you can see a little bit more of a seam. So I just want to show you that you can get a better, tighter seam if you have a little overhang that you trim down rather than not enough. So we're just gonna start gluing these on. It's very simple. I recommend a hot glue gun, but you can use a variety of other glues. If you wanna use like a tack glue or something like that, you could do that as well. I just add a little bit of glue to get it started. And you wanna pick 2 sides to concentrate on initially, a right angle basically. And you want to just line that up as close to the edge as possible. And then make sure you come in here right along the edge with your glue gun and press that down so that the edges and the seams there don't want to sort of curl up, because that's going to be their natural tendency to do that. So make sure you come right in there up to the edge with your glue so that you have good contact and everything looks nice and seamless. All right, so I have these 2 sides. You can see they're perfectly aligned, but this one over here, if I flip it over, you'll see that there's a little bit of an overhang right on the edge right there. So I want you to glue down close to the edge, and then you're going to come in here with a pair of scissors and you're just going to trim off that excess very carefully, and that's going to give us that nice clean edge. And I just trim off that little bit of extra on those sides. And I love this project because it's something that you could use year after year. You can make mini versions and put them in your Christmas tree. You could put them on a wreath. I think that would be amazing, putting them on a wreath. I have so many ideas for how I like to decorate for Christmas. I never have enough time to execute all of them. So there you go, there's our first side on, and now we're just gonna repeat the process on every single side. I'm gonna start by flipping this over. So these 2 sides are very flush. This side's very flush, but this one has a little bit of an overhang. So I'm just gonna repeat the process and trim just a little bit to get that excess off. There we go. Trimming down my very last little bit there. There we go. So we have our box completely covered now, and it's time to decorate it. I'm going to start with a ribbon. You can see here I did a ribbon that kind of complemented the bow that's going to go on top. And I'm going to be doing a green bow, so I'm going to get some of my glitter canvas in green, and I'm going to cut strips of it that way. I'm just using my guides here on my mat to make it about 1 inch thick. And for this, I'm going to glue it so that it comes down the center here on the side and meets right there in the top. And it'll be that way also on the other side. And if it doesn't have enough to come to the very center, that's okay, because the bow's gonna go right on top. You're not gonna be able to see that part anyways. So I'm gonna start by gluing this piece on. All right, so we have that so far. Now we're gonna set this aside so we can make the bow. Okay, so now that we have finished this box, we're going to create a bow for the top of it. There's lots of different ways you can create bows. I'm going to be showing you a style that's kind of more like a traditional gift box bow. And this doesn't require a cutting machine again or anything like that. It can just be done with a pair of scissors or rotary blade. So in order to do this, I have taken a very thin glitter canvas that we're going to be using for the bow. Let me open this up here. Now I recommend making it a thin glitter canvas and not a chunky glitter canvas because the chunky is just, it's so much thicker and it's really gonna like kind of make your bow very thick in the middle, and sometimes it can make it a little cumbersome to handle. So I recommend going with something that's almost like paper thin. And if you look at any canvas, there is a white side on one side, and we don't want that to show because that's gonna make our bow not look as pretty. So what I do is I take some iron-on heat transfer vinyl, and I've done this in a complementary glitter green, and I'm gonna be placing that onto the back of the glitter canvas so that it is two-sided, and it is going to make the bow look more beautiful and seamless. You can see here I did this one in pink and gold glitter, and you can see how it's two-toned, and that turned out really well. So that's the process we're gonna be doing here. Now for this, you will need either an easy press or you will need an iron, so just keep that in mind for this process. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut a piece of this glitter canvas and a piece of this heat transfer vinyl, and I'm gonna transfer the vinyl onto here. So I just focus on doing about an 11, see this is, not here to measure, this is 12 inches wide, so I'm gonna cut this at about 8.5 inches, so it's 8.5 by 12. You might have yours that comes in like standard sheets, and that's about the size it comes in as well. So I'm gonna cut it to that size just for reference here. Again, I'm using my rotary blade here. Okay, so we've got that. Let's set this aside, and I'm gonna flip this over, and I'm going to cut a piece of this as well, and I'm gonna sort of cut it to where it matches the glitter canvas that I've already cut out. That way we don't waste any material. Grab my easy press here. I have this set to 380 for 30 seconds, and I'm just gonna hold it in place so that that glitter heat transfer can transfer to my glitter canvas so that this becomes double-sided. Okay, you wanna make sure that you let this cool for at least a minute, not only for the safety of your hands, but also when you do a cool peel, as it's called, it's not going to cling to the liner. And if I didn't say this before, you always want to make sure it is liner side up, shiny side up when you're putting this on. Don't ever put it where the plastic is down, or else it's going to melt into your material and it won't be on the correct side. So let me just pull this liner back. There we go. So now we have a double-sided piece of canvas glitter. And we're going to use this now to start cutting strips. Now, you can cut the strips ultimately in a variety of thicknesses. I like to do it about 1.5 inches thick by, and this is 8.5 inches wide. So this is about a standard sheet of glitter canvas that you would get if you were to buy them in packs. I bought mine in a roll, and I have resources for that if you're interested. But I'm going to do about 8.5 inch strips by 1.5 inch wide, and I'm going to cut 6 of these out. 3, 4, 5, 6, there we go. They're all cut about 1.5 inches wide. It's okay if they're not absolutely exact. You just want that to be an approximation. Now go ahead and set those aside for the moment, because we need to cut a few more strips. So you can see in this bow, which is kind of what we're going to be making here, I did 6 on the outside, another 6 on the inside, and then 3 here for the innermost part of the bow. So that's where we're headed. We're going to need to create another ironed on layer here, just like we did a few moments ago. Okay, so now I have my second piece all ready to go, and you're gonna need to cut another 6 strips, but this time, instead of them being 8.5 inches long, they're only gonna be 7 inches long. So I am going to start by using my straight edge, and I'm gonna trim off right there at the 7-inch mark. And you're gonna need 6 of these. Again, visit that blog post below for exact measurements and dimensions in a list form for your convenience. Okay, so now we have 6 of these strips, 7 by 1.5 inches, and we're gonna set those aside as well. And then you're going to want to cut the rest of this. So this is about 2.5 inches, and you wanna cut another 1.5 inches wide. So I'm gonna use my board here again. So we have 6, 6, and 4. You're gonna start with the longest strips here. And the first thing you're gonna do is you're going to grab a strip and you're going to fold it like this. It kind of looks like, everyone's familiar with the breast cancer ribbon, so that's kind of the look of what you're going for there. And you wanna think about what's gonna be visible. So you're gonna see whatever side is facing you here and is curved is gonna be the top side here. So just bear that in mind. If you did two-tone and you're wanting one on top and one more inner, then just keep that in mind. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little bit of glue and we're gonna overlap this, and you're gonna repeat that with all of these. Just give a slight overlap, bringing this corner over here, and go ahead and repeat the process. Okay, so we've done that with all 6 of those, and you're gonna continue now with the 1.5 inch by 7-inch strips, doing the exact same thing. Make sure everything's going, you know, the colors are matching appropriately. Okay, so we're gonna start assembling from this point, and then we'll get to the very last strips as we get towards the end here. Go ahead and just set these smaller ones aside, and we're gonna work with these first. So you wanna take 2 at a time, and we're gonna overlap them just like so, gluing them across from one another. It's gonna look like a figure 8. So just like that. And then repeat the process again. Now you can do this exact same thing with the smaller ones. Gluing 2 across from each other. It's gonna look like a figure 8. Okay, so now you should have 6 pieces in total, 3 larger, 3 smaller. We're gonna start with the bigger, and you're going to want to first arrange them in a way that looks symmetrical to your eye. So you don't wanna do like an exact cross here. You sort of wanna make it like diagonally crossing each other so that this one sits squarely in the center like so, and that's going to be the base of our bow. So once you get your angle figured out there, then add some glue. You want to be kind of generous with the glue at this point. So you should have something that looks like this at this point, and then we're going to start adding on the next ones. And for these parts, you're going to want to aim for this point to fall in between these 2 points. So let that be your frame of reference and your guide. And you might need to bend it up a little bit, and that's a good thing because that means our bow is filling out in the center. And now for my third piece. And you'll see, if you're following me with the thin canvas glitter, you'll see why using the chunky glitter wouldn't be a good idea, because it's gonna make the bow like really, really thick, and it's just gonna be very hard to work with. All right, so now we've reached a point where we just need to finish the center of our bow, and that is where these smaller pieces come in. So what I like to do with these is, it's a little challenging to get them in a pointed manner like this, but it is possible. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put a couple of them sitting on either side and then one final one in the center. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm going to fold this just like we did the other points. It's just going to be a lot more shallow. Just like this. So it's in a little point. At this point, I'm placing these in where it looks best to my eye. So for me, that looks best sitting between that open space right there. Okay, I'm gonna add the second one in, and I'm gonna add it across from that one, so it looks symmetrical. You might need to kind of press it together to get the glue to connect, and then it'll sort of pop back up. Just like that. Taking that center around a little bit. All right, and the final step is going to be to add one loop right in the middle. Now you can use these little shorter ones that we cut here. It will work perfectly fine. If you feel like you want it to stick up a little higher, then you might want to cut a slightly longer one. So this one is just under 3 inches by 1.5 inches. I'm going to cut one that's just a little bit longer, but you can also do that. Again, it's going to depend a lot on how did your bow come together, because not everybody's bow is going to come together exactly the same way. It's just not possible. So I'm going to go closer to like 4.5 inches and just trim that. It's my easy press. All right, so now that I have a longer piece, I'm going to make a little loop just like this. And then we're gonna place this right down in the center to finish the bow. Again, you might need to like push it down to get it to make contact, and then it'll sort of pop back up for you there. Just like so. And there is our Christmas bow. I think this is really cute. You could use these for, you know, real Christmas gifts, and it could become a keepsake afterwards. Or you could use them for our decorative boxes like we have here. So to finish off our box, you could just glue this directly on top for a final adornment to the top of your glitter canvas box. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. And you can see how it easily covers up that little spot there in the middle. And there you have it. This is a super cute Christmas piece of decoration you could use year after year. You can stick these onto your Christmas tree. If you're interested in learning how to do some different, more traditional like hairstyle bows, I'm having a tutorial come out on that next week. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss that. And there's gonna be free templates for that as well. If you wanna make a smaller one that's a little bit less complicated, you can follow the exact same steps, but I just used 4 here instead of 6 like we did here, and you can make one slightly smaller, and you can just do 4 around, then 4 in the center, and one final one right there, and add some little tails if you want. And those tails are gonna come out with this template here that's coming out next week, or you can just cut some for yourself real easily on your glitter canvas. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. It's really fun, and I'd love to see how your boxes turn out, so be sure to visit the Facebook group, which is linked below, and follow us for more freebies, templates, giveaways, and lots and lots of craft fun tutorials. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.